Welcome to Let's Custom International. My name is Alexander Lindahl, and I have my operation here in Stockholm, Sweden, as you might know. And in this video, I'm going to show you and talk a little about my new scales, titanium scales for the Microtech Auto Stitch. So this knife is amazing. I just love it. I love the ergonomics. I love the spear point blade. I love that it is an auto, and it's a great knife. So I already made the scales for the Ramlock Stitch and the Ramlock MSI. So I figured I'd love to do them for the Auto Stitch as well. So I'm gonna talk to you a little about the new scales that I made. They're gonna drop in about 2 to 4 weeks at lamnia.com, Blade HQ, and Knife Center, and of course my own Etsy shop. So let's talk about this knife a little bit. I also have the same scales from another knife that I disassembled. So inside this knife, there is no ball bearings, no washers, there is nothing in between. It's only the blade. So the blade surface and the scale surface are actually moving together like this, and it creates some friction. And also, because there is nothing to actually really pick up the tolerances or the margins, there is a risk that when you tighten the pivot, the blade gets stuck, right? So they designed it with a bit of a margin, and that's why we have a little blade play here. It's not much, but you can feel it. And it's quite hard to create something that is just perfect when you engineer it like this. It's better to have a little blade play rather than the blade gets stuck because the tolerances are too small. And there's a lot of small parts here that has to line up and has to be perfect for it to work. So just to make it safe, they just gave it a little extra room to secure a good action. Okay, so I had quite a challenge to get the right measurements and to get the tolerances right and so on, because there is no room for extra margins on the wrong side, so to speak, because if it gets too tight, the blade won't deploy. And there is another challenge. The pivot doesn't go all the way through the scale. Let's see, I take the right one. Okay, so the pivot goes in from this side of the scale, like that. And then there are some small, I'm gonna try to show you. Let's see here if I can get it right. Yeah, there you can see the shiny part there. It's a flat nudge on both sides of the pivot, and that catches on to the scale, so the pivot doesn't go all the way through. That means that all this space needs to be filled up with the blade and stuff like that. Yeah. So there is actually no way to try to get the extra tolerances or extra margins to get the pivot go further or less. Oh, well, I got a hard time explaining it in English, but still. So Either way, I took the challenge and I created these. These are made in grade 2 titanium. And this pair is Cerakoted with cobalt kinetic slate. None of the retailers got this particular color. They got burnt bronze, they got charcoal green, cobalt black, and a few other colors. And of course, they got the stone washed finished and the glass bead polished finished. There's another challenge. Stainless steel, whatever stainless steel you got, directly to the surface of titanium is not a good fit. It creates a lot of friction, so finding the sweet spot was impossible. It was freaking impossible to find the sweet spot because of all the issues and challenges. So I figured out that we have to put some coating on the inside. So the scales with raw titanium finish on the front will have a Cerakote coated finish on the back side. So there's always some coating here on these surfaces that helps out with the friction. So also I got an idea. If you just install these as they are, you will be able to hopefully find a sweet spot and get rid of all the blade play. If you really like to have that snappy action, that fast snappy action, you need to use some Scotch-Brite heads on your Dremel or just some Scotch-Brite pads and polish up these surfaces. And the more you polish them, the less friction you're gonna get. And you know, Cerakote is a ceramic polymer, so it's flexible, and I've added about 25 microns on here. So if you polish off maybe 10 microns, 15 microns, you will still have a coated surface to help with the friction, and you will also create some more extra room to get the blade play back and the snappy action. Yeah. So, but I'm not gonna polish these because I like to get rid of the blade play, and I like my action to be more chunky, ka-choom, instead of snappy, snap, yeah? It's still gonna be strong, it's still gonna be amazing because of this coil spring. But I don't like the recoil because the knife is kind of light, and I don't like the blade play. Okay, so I'm gonna put this aside and let's assemble this knife. I got everything here and it's cleaned up. So I'm gonna some lube, some cotton sticks, and yeah, before you take your knife apart, beware. When you loosen this scale, and they could sit pretty tight, so you need to use some force to get it loose. But this button is of course loaded with springs, so be careful so they don't fly away. And so this is the button. Inside that hole, there is a very small coil spring, yeah? This coil spring should be in that hole. Inside the coil spring, you have this little sucker, and if this fly away, it will be very hard to find it again. That should be in there. Shit. Okay. And over everything here, you will have a bigger coil spring. Yeah, it's gonna be right there. So, all right. So let's start with this side here. First, what I'm gonna do is to mount the backspacer, and sometimes there are some extra Cerakote in these holes, so they just don't fall into place that easy. I've already assembled this knife once, so now it's a lot easier, but don't worry, just line it up and drive the backspacer in with the screws. And for all the small screws, you will need a T20 Torx 8, and for the pivot, you need a Torx 20. So now we are going to install the barrel spacers. And if you take a look, I don't think the measurements are any different between the two, but why risk it? Yeah. So if you look at the original knife, you have the backspacer here. Yeah, you got 2 rings there and 3 rings down there. So just put them back where they came from. Okay. So then we're gonna lube it up. So I use these cotton sticks, and I just drop some lube on there. Like that. And then I'm gonna lube the friction area. Everywhere there, inside here. And I'm gonna put some lube in here for the spring. And well, why not? In there as well. Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna lube up the other side. And the friction surface. And a little bit in here for the button to get some help for the break-in. Okay, so there is fresh Cerakote in there, and the button is gonna get contact with that surface, and you know, it's a spring-loaded thing, and the blade is going to interact with this button, so it will touch the walls in here. So with some extra lubes, it will work like if you wet sand something with water and sandpaper, like a 2000 grit wet sandpaper, and it will get better and better and better. Okay, so we can just put that in there and put it aside a little bit. Now, I will lube a little bit here just because I can. There we go. All right, I'm gonna prepare a new cotton stick with some fresh lube. And just put it on the side here so I'm ready. And I'm gonna wipe my hands off a little bit because I'm all sweaty. Okay, so I'm taking this one and I put in the pivot, and then I put some lube on the pivot. Then I push in the spring. Oh yeah, let's talk about the spring. So this notch is interacting with the blade, and this one with the scale, okay? So I'm just gonna put it in there and show you what you need to control. Okay, so, okay, let's see if we can get it there somewhere. Okay, you can actually see the spring is sticking out there. And this is after I grinded off maybe 0.3 millimeters of that notch, because I thought it was too long and it will scratch the other side of the scale, because now we're trying to get rid of the extra margins to be able, if you like, to get rid of the blade plate. But then it might get too tight, so you need to remove just a little bit and round it off, okay? All right, let's put that back into place. There we go. All right, then we will need to put back the collar. This collar, you can see it's a bit wider on my right side. The diameter is smaller on the left side. So the bigger diameter is going upwards. So the smaller downwards. That's it. And of course, some little lube. Okay. Now, you remember I talked about the flat spots on each side of the pivot? That flat spot right there, you need to line it up with this part here. And if you do this correctly, it's a lot easier to close the knife with the other side of the scale. That is pretty much good, okay? Now comes to another tricky part. You need to get this notch on the spring into that small hole on the blade, like this. Come on, oh, there we go. And now twist the blade, and you know, it looks like that. So twist the blade and you can feel that it's spring loaded right now. Twist it, keep it tight. There we go. All right. Now we are going to, so I hold it like this and the blade like this. So I have everything in place. Because now we will try to flip the other side over without fucking up the button, okay? All right. Here we go. Click, click, click. Everything falls into place. That's good. No gap there. No gap here. No gaps here. If there are gap here, no worries. You can just take a screw and drive the backspacer into place. sip of my coffee. Now, we need to secure and make sure that the pivot flat side is lined up with this scale. To do that, take the T20 and jerk it clockwise, anti-clockwise, push it in, and now you cannot turn it. That means it's falling into place. Perfect. So let's put the other screws into place. Oh, wrong screw. Don't tighten it, just put them into place, screw them in a little bit, don't tighten anything yet. And also the pivot. Don't tighten the pivot, just put it in there. As soon as you feel it's touching base, leave it alone. Now, we need to check that everything is lined up and work properly. And you can see, here we go. You know, it's like the blade, when you do all this, you put the blade in place, you put the scale in place, then maybe the blade inside tilts up a little bit. And you know, there's a lot of parts in there, the pivot, the color, the blade, and so on. And you need to just make sure that everything sits back down properly, and now it does. So now you tighten these ones. And you know, the barrel spacers here are completely round. So sometimes you need to use 2 of these, yeah? And I do have 2 of these. Make it tight. Make it tight. And also check these, that everything is tightened up. And let's check the pivot. Okay, it's loose. Let's check the action. Oh, it's very hard. It's very hard. So what we need to do is to loose everything up just a little bit. So now we got it to work properly, and as you can hear, versus, you know, this one is a lot snappier and the recoil is a lot stronger. This one sounds more chunky and the recoil is not that hard. But still, any of this doesn't affect the coil spring. The coil spring is still very strong, so the action is very stable and smooth. And there is absolutely no blade play here. So, what we need to do, or what you need to do, because, well, I'm going to do it as well, because I'm going to use this knife this weekend. I'm going off to a friend of mine owns his own island up in Dalarna. It's a bit up north in Sweden, where you can ski and hiking and stuff like that. He has a small cabin there. It's kind of, maybe, I don't know, 150 years old. No toilet, no water running, no power. And he is having a small festival up there. And that's gonna be awesome. So I'm going up there for the weekend, doing some barbecuing and listen to music, stuff like that. And I don't want to lose any of my screws, so I'm going to do what I recommend you guys to do. is to this one, and this one will not be tightened into crazy hard. So we're gonna use some Loctite and to secure these screws so I don't lose them. And after we Loctite the screws, you need to let it rest for 24 hours and to give, and you know what I did now, I felt like now it's starting to drive in, you know, I get a little friction in here, and don't tighten it too much. This one I can leave as it is. Now the pivot, and when I've installed the screws again with Loctite, I need to try find the sweet spot again. When you get a new knife or whatever with Loctite screws, I feel the best way of loosen them up is with heat. So I use a heat gun, heat it up, and then it's very easy to loosen it. Not a good idea if the knife have polymer or G10 scales or carbon fiber scales, but as long as it's steel or titanium, aluminum or whatever, it will work fine. Okay, so I'm gonna find a sweet spot. Let's see if I go in there, see what happens. Okay, now it's a little hard. Loosen it up a little bit. No blade play in any direction. All right, that's it. So Lex Custom International titanium scales for the Microtech Auto Stitch. And you're now able to get rid of the blade play. It's a little bit tricky, but you know, have patience, tweak here, tweak there, lube here, lube everywhere, and you can get a more sturdy and more kind of, let's say this is on this is a stress knife. This is more like more calm action. All right. So just to wrap this up, for you that doesn't have any experience with Lex Custom International before, I've also made the scales for the ram lock stitch. This is my user, so it's a bit dirty. And I've done them for the MSI And all these, the Remlock stitch and the MSI is already out there at the Blade HQ and Knife Center and so on, and in my own Etsy shop as well. What's dropping now in maybe 2 to 4 weeks is the titanium scales. It comes in various Cerakote colors and stone washed and glad beads polished. Is the Auto Stitch and the Amphibian. So this one is pretty much very much like these 3 musketeers. The install procedure is exactly the same. It's very, very simple. You don't have to disassemble the complete knife because it's built up with an internal steel frame. So you can just do one side at a time. It's very, very, very simple. Yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope this video can help you out to make the install of the Auto Stitch a little easier. And this bad boy is gonna accompany me to the festival this weekend. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. Enjoy.